The plants in the forest seem to breathe in and out steadily. Spiky plants grow close to the ground, ready to react. They sense movement nearby, springing up to attack instantly. Vesper always manages to dodge their strikes, because she is the one who engineered these plants with synthetic biology. In this ruined world, humans created many synthetic biology innovations. They were meant to end food shortages, but greedy corporations rushed the tech to market too soon. This caused synthetic organisms to escape into nature. They spread and contaminated the entire planet. Odd creatures now appear everywhere on Earth. While they grow like plants on walls or the ground, they behave more like living animals. Some even glow in a rhythmic pattern. Animals can no longer survive in these harsh conditions. Children now learn about wild animals only from books. Finding enough food is the hardest challenge. Synthetic organisms have ruined food seeds. They make fruits that cannot grow new seeds. For every seed planted, another is lost. Food and seeds became the most precious resources of this ruined era. This caused the gap between rich and poor to grow even larger. The rich live in clean, warm castles filled with food. The poor survive in cold, dark, and damp forests. Vesper was born to a family struggling to survive. She learned to live independently from a young age. Each day, she braves the muddy swamps to search for edible roots. These roots barely keep her from starving. Mealworms are the only source of real protein. She crushes mealworms and mixes them into a sticky soup, then pours it into a plastic bag to feed her father, who is paralyzed in bed. Her father depends on her to eat. Her father was infected by a dangerous synthetic organism. It left his body paralyzed, but spared his mind. Even his breathing relies on synthetic organisms. He communicates with Vesper, using a biotech robot. Even in this harsh world, Vesper's dreams were never crushed. She taught herself synthetic biology from a young age. She dreamed of using her skills to build a better future. And one day, leave the forest for the rich castles. She created many unique organisms. One had a glowing red stamen in the center. Beside it were two tentacles shaped like tiny seahorses. They looked like twin dragons holding a pearl. The stamen pulsed with rhythmic light. She also made lantern grass. It glowed constantly, lighting the dark surroundings. She continued this life for a long time. One day, while foraging, she saw a flying machine crash from the sky. She followed the crash's path and found an injured woman beneath a tree root. Strange creatures were crawling all over the scene. Their tentacles were draining blood from the woman. Vesper rushed over to examine the woman's wounds. To avoid inhaling toxic spores from nearby plants, she put on her gas mask. She checked the woman's eyes for signs of life. She saw that the woman was still alive. She tore the blood-sucking tentacles away from her, then dragged the woman back to her home. She treated the woman's wounds with a bio-band-aid she made herself. When the woman regained consciousness, she begged Vesper to help find her father. Their robot had broken down somewhere in the forest. She and her father ended up in different locations after the crash, but Vesper needed to help her find his exact location. The woman promised that if she could find her father, his father's status could help Vesper live in the castle. Hearing this, Vesper agreed to help. She discovered the remains of the aircraft in the forest. She followed the debris trail to a swamp. The woman immediately recognized her father lying in the water. She hugged the cold, lifeless body and wept for a long time, until Vesper pulled her back to the shore. Then she noticed a crack in the woman's neck. The crack revealed that the woman was an artificial human. Vesper confronted her, forcing her to reveal the truth. In this era, synthetic humans were created through biosynthesis to serve as slaves. However, making synthetic humans with emotions and intelligence was a serious crime. If discovered, the authorities would destroy her. She explained that she and her creator escaped the castle using a flying machine. They sought refuge in another castle, but their aircraft crashed on the way there. The death of the woman's father shattered Vesper's hope of reaching the castle. Yet she refused to give up. She realized that someone giving their life for an android was extraordinary. This meant the android must be special. She took a blood sample from the woman to analyze. She discovered the DNA wasn't entirely human. Vesper's experiments revealed that DNA could make seeds fertile again. This meant fields could be full of crops again. People wouldn't need to rely on mealworms for protein anymore. After discovering these truths, Vesper's father asked the woman to take her to another castle. He hoped this would help her reach a better life in the castle. But Vesper insisted on bringing her paralyzed father along. Suddenly, a strange light appeared outside the window. The light moved steadily toward their home. As it dimmed, the woman saw strange plants growing quickly from outside the door and spreading inside. The growth covered everything in its path. The plants tried to latch onto them, but stopped short. They saw soldiers dissolve into spore clouds that floated through the air. They covered their noses, avoiding inhaling the spores. They stayed silent until the spores finally cleared. The soldiers' presence meant the guards searching for the woman were close behind. Vesper and the woman had to leave immediately for another castle. She couldn't bring her father along. Her father reassured her, saying he had once worked in the castle. He knew how to handle the guards. He believed the guards wouldn't harm someone paralyzed in bed. His words gave Vesper some peace of mind. As Vesper and the woman left, the guards arrived. They lifted the plastic covering. Underneath lay Vesper's father. A synthetic skeleton, part machine, part biology. One of the guards aimed a gun at him. The father activated an aircraft to distract the guards. Without hesitation, the guard fired at the robot. The guard didn't see the robot's battery explode, engulfing the area in flames. Vesper watched from afar as the explosion created a mushroom cloud rising into the sky. She wanted to return and save her father. The woman comforted her, helping her calm down. By then, the guards had tracked their footsteps and found them. The two of them fled as fast as they could. Vesper warned the woman to avoid the red grass. They carefully made their way across. She stood still, waiting for the guards to approach. She saw a guard step on the red grass and get pierced by glowing dart-like projectiles. Fireflies emerged from the guard's lifeless body. The second guard avoided the red grass and charged toward them. The woman struck the guard's hand, knocking the gun away while he was distracted. Vesper picked up the gun but realized she couldn't fire it. She shoved the guard back a few steps, forcing him near the red grass. She hurled the gun into the grass. She watched as swarms of red insects swarmed over the guard, piercing him. After the guards were dealt with, the woman warned that more would come if they weren't caught. To ensure Vesper could spread the renewable seeds to the world, the woman decided to surrender herself. However, after spending time together, Vesper had come to see the artificial human as her family. After her father's death, the woman became her only support. She didn't want the woman to leave her, no matter what. The woman cupped Vesper's face and kissed her forehead. The kiss made Vesper fall into a deep sleep instantly. The woman walked alone into Vesper's small garden and waited for the guards to arrive and arrest her. This time, they might never meet again. Vesper woke up in a bed of fallen leaves. She was safe now. She returned to the ruins of the house destroyed in the explosion. She planted a few seeds near the house as a memorial, then set off alone to scatter the seeds. She followed pilgrims to a tall tower. The tower was built using materials the pilgrims had brought from various places. Vesper climbed to the top of the tower and gazed at the distant castle. Countless flying machines transported children's blood to the castle where the rich lived. She turned to stare at the river below. She pulled out the seeds and stared at them for a long while. She realized that no matter which castle the seeds reached, they would never reach the people struggling in the wild. She decided to leave the seeds in the forest, to let them remain with nature.